Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Josh Guerrero here, and welcome to the All Around Adventure podcast. Whether you're joining me for the first time or you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, and I certainly do want to welcome you here. And as always, I want to thank you for being here today, just because I know that you're busy and that you have a lot going on, and that there's also a lot out there on the internet these days that's trying to get your attention. But it just means so much to me that you've chosen to download and listen to this podcast. Now, if you are in fact new to this podcast and you're not entirely sure what we're all about here, this is the show where you hear amazing tales from afar and get the all-important life lessons that go along with them. Those will, of course, be stories from myself as well as the amazing guests that I welcome on this podcast. But in this episode, you just have me today. This is a solocast. Don't really have a fancy name for the solocast like I used to in the past. I guess this is just simply the solo show now. And like I said, I'm going to be sharing some of my own stories, my own thoughts, my own experiences, my own ideas. Hopefully you can extrapolate some good things from them that you can implement into your own life. And I typically don't keep these episodes too terribly long, just something short, sweet, and simple to the point, something for you to chew on as you go into your week. Though today's episode may go a little bit longer just because this is a topic that I'm kind of passionate about, that I want to get into. And you notice that the title of this episode is On Men's Mental Health. Now, we just wrapped up the month of June, and June was Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's just what I want to talk about today, because I do feel that this is a very important topic. I believe that masculinity is vital to the advancement of our society, civilization, and humanity as a whole. Now, don't take that the wrong way. I feel like in this day and age, if you voice the importance of one thing, many people automatically assume that you're discounting the importance of something else entirely. So I'm sure some people would say things like, so femininity isn't important? Of course, femininity is important. It is critical to all the things that I just mentioned, the advancement of society, civilization, humanity as a whole. It's just simply not what I'm talking about in this episode. Seems kind of strange in this day and age where if you voice the importance of one thing or your liking of something, that must mean that you are demeaning something else entirely. Like if I say I like oranges, people would automatically assume, so you must hate apples. Or if I like dogs, well, then I must hate cats. Or if I like chocolate cake, I must hate trees or something like that. So no, femininity, absolutely critical. It's just simply not what I'm talking about in this episode. So anyway, I digress right there. And I feel like this episode, of course, is just going to be as much for me as I'm sure it's going to be for all of the men listening today. And of course, since we are talking about men's mental health, it should go without saying that this is going to be certainly more for men, but ladies, please don't check out just yet, because I feel like what I'm going to be talking about today could be very beneficial to men in your life. If you have a man in your life who may be struggling with mental health in some way, shape, or form, hopefully the points that I talk about here could be beneficial to them. So if you like what you hear today, by all means, share this with some of the men in your life who may be struggling with mental health and could, again, benefit from what I have to share today. Now, it's going to be a little bit of tough love. I mean, again, I'm talking to myself just as much as all of you men are too. And sometimes I just feel like being a little bit more stern is kind of the way to go, because that's how some men have been with me in the past, when I kind of was on my journey to better myself, and when I've kind of dealt with my own mental health issues in the past. And so, with that, let's go ahead and get right on into this. I got 5 points that I want to discuss with you all today. And the first one, and I bring this one up first because I think this one is personally the most important, and that is going to be working on your physical fitness through hard training. Getting in the weight room, lifting weights, going for long runs, doing HIIT workouts, getting on the mats, doing jiu-jitsu, doing kickboxing, doing MMA, wrestling, and all those physical activities. Physical fitness is absolutely critical. And I've said this many times in the past on my podcast that your body is the vessel with which you will do all things. And if you have it running optimally, then all areas of your life are naturally going to improve. And that's why I bring this up first. If you have your physical health in order, then it's going to act as a force multiplier for all the other points that I'm going to talk about in this episode, which ultimately is going to improve your mental health. There's a saying that I also go by that is, with a strong body comes a strong mind. And it's not just the fact of you doing something physical and overcoming something physical, but your mood is enhanced, you get better quality sleep, all which in turn just comes to just enhanced mood, greater energy, and so on and so forth. So, and better sex if you want to throw that bit in there just as well too. Not to mention, you just have more confidence in yourself. If you walk around being lean, having some muscle mass, just like having that aura about you, and when people kind of take notice of that too, you just have a little bit more confidence in yourself just as well too, and also confidence in your abilities as well. Like I said, when you show up in all other areas of your life. So, fitness, whatever that looks like for you, that could be sports, that could be lifting weights, that could be, wanting to run really, really far. I mean, I've kind of dabbled into all those areas. I've done an ultramarathon. I fought in the cage as an MMA fighter and things along those lines too. And if you're looking for coaching, I happen to know a couple of great resources for that. That's another thing I'll mention too, is I'm going to try to include some resources for all of these points as well. And two men I know personally that I'll recommend. One is Tyler Geiger of Knock Performance. He's helped me get like some of my knees issues sorted out. I was dealing with knee problems as I was training for my ultra endurance event, and he helped me out there. And I know that some of his other clients have been getting very great results with their performance as well. So Tyler Geiger at Knock Performance, great resource. Another great resource is Colin Cottrell of High Caliber Nation. He's kind of been working a little bit more closely with me, actually coming out on runs with me as I was getting ready for my ultra race that I did here recently. So both men, know them personally. They get great results help get their clients get great results. So I'll certainly recommend them to you all for sure. And I'll leave links in the show notes for this episode. All right. The next point that I want to go off of that piggybacks off this is eating a clean diet. And eating clean, that means real food. So meat, eggs, rice, fruit, things along those lines too. Things that have just one ingredient, earth-grown nutrients that have been on this planet and has sustained life on this planet since the dawn of time. Like think about what types of foods have brought civilization and humanity throughout aeons to the point that we are now. Certainly wasn't things that came in boxes or in packages or anything like that, or things that have ingredients lists a kilometer long. I'm talking about single ingredient items. So a couple examples, venison, steak, apples, bananas, oranges, rice, potatoes, and the list goes on. See, like all those things are just single ingredients in and of themselves, and then also making meals from scratch. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a proponent of balance. So like anyone who knows me personally knows how much I like my chips and salsa. So every now and then I will enjoy some chips and salsa, or maybe go out for pizza or something along those lines too. But that only makes up a small percentage of the things that I eat. Everything else, though, is the types of things that I just described to you. Currently, I'm utilizing more of a meat and fruit diet at the moment, or I guess I should say more of an animal-based plus fruit diet. So I'll have like eggs, milk, things along those lines too, especially since I'm doing a lot of weightlifting and I really want to get that protein and get my carbohydrates from fruits and honey as well. I'll suppose I'll throw that in there as well. But of course, this is just good fuel for the body and for the brain. Adding in all these preservatives and chemicals that you get with all this packaged, heavily processed food really wears down your brain quite significantly. And again, it's really hard to get that drive, that energy going if, your body is bogged down with junk food, which is going to bring your brain down. And of course, it's going to, ultimately affect your mental health. Now, you'll probably get like some endorphins right away, just obviously like a lot of the pleasure parts of your brain. Why can't I think of the term right now? Is of course going to get activated through these foods. But, that's just short-term pleasure, instant gratification, but that doesn't really lead you to anywhere productive. But, just eating clean food that your body actually needs. And like I said, the type of food that has sustained life on this planet for eons, That's what's really going to help get your brain that right fuel, get your body the right fuel, and again, just lead to better mental health in the long run. So eat clean food. That's what I have for number 2. And the resources that I want to talk about here is Dr. Bill Schindler's book, Eat Like a Human. He takes a deep dive into this topic, and he's been a guest on the podcast twice now. So if you want to, hear his insights on the podcast and check out his book, again, I'll leave links to those in the show notes for this episode. All right, the third thing that I want to talk about here is optimizing your testosterone levels. And the first 2 points that I talked about here, training hard physically and then also eating a clean diet, are 2 ways that's going to help optimize your testosterone levels. But there's a few other things to take in consideration too. One of them is going to be, of course, tracking your testosterone levels and trying to find means to boost them naturally. And one of the ways that you can get your testosterone levels checked is through a company called Blokes. Full disclosure, I haven't used them yet, but I've been interacting with a few of my contacts who have used Blokes before and have gotten great results from the blood tests that they've had. And this just gives them something to measure. So I'm certainly going to be making my appointment with Blokes here before too long so I can see what my levels are at. And so I have a means to measure them and then also perhaps get some consultation on how I can increase my levels. And like I said, diet and training is a good way to increase your testosterone levels. Of course, there's a few other ways just as well to do that. And a good resource that I'll link up here that kind of covers them a little bit more in depth, which will include things like sleep, meditation, and a few other things. My buddy Grant Stevens, he did a great video series on his YouTube channel where he talked about that. And some of you might remember that Grant Stevens was my first guest in season 4 here of the All Around Adventure podcast. So I'll leave links to his YouTube channels and also links to Blokes where you can go and check them out. But, testosterone, it's the male hormone. It's and if we have good optimal levels with of our testosterone in our system, then again, that's just going to really elevate us as men and again, lead to better mental health as well. All right, the fourth thing that I want to talk about in this episode is finding a battle team. And that is a battle team made up of other men and other men who are getting after it and are looking to elevate themselves in all areas of life, just like how you are. And now how are you going to find these men? Well, that is going to places that men would go to in order to make themselves better. That would be on the jiu-jitsu mats. That would be in the gym. Or if you're a man of faith like me, that could very well be in the church and things like that. You're probably not going to find these type of men in places like bars, unfortunately. Not to knock on bars, but I don't think that's where most men will go to and it means to want to better themselves. Okay? So think about where would men go that want to improve themselves and go there and try to connect with like some of these men and form a battle team. Have men around you that you can call on if you need to, or just to maybe gather and break bread together and just kind of sort of talk about ideas, innovations, thoughts like that, and then and work with each other to help each other get better and grow stronger. And like I said, that could be local, but there's also a lot of online resources that are kind of doing this more and more. And I talked about my buddy Colin Cottrell. He's doing this with his High Caliber Nation, where he hosts weekly calls with men from different parts of the country and probably pretty soon all around the world, where they get together. They talk about what's been going well for themselves, how they're working to get better, holding each other accountable. Like just having a team of like-minded men in your corner is really going to help you improve very dramatically and again, help your mental health as a whole. But let's just make sure that you don't make this all about yourself and what you can get from the group. Think about how you can contribute to a group that you're a part of, or in this case, as I mentioned, a battle team, and how can you be a value add to the team just as well too. It's a little bit of give and take when it comes to connecting yourself with like-minded men and forming your own battle team. All right, so the last point that I want to talk about here is get out of the circus. In this day and age, with us being so heavily connected with things like social media, 24-hour news cycles, we are just constantly being bombarded with so much stimuli. And with us being in 2024 right now, of course, this is an election year, and it seems like so much agenda is being driven on the news, on social media, and things along those lines too. And it can just really, really bring you down. It just feels like, the world is just so dark and chaotic and crazy, and it can sort of just drive you a little bit stir crazy if you let yourself get consumed with it. Now, some people have asked me lately, it's like, oh, did you see what this person said, what that person said, and so on and so forth. I'm like, nope. Not that I'm oblivious to what's going on in the world. I do pay attention, but I allow myself to be informed, but not consumed. And there's definitely a difference there. There's a difference between knowing what's going on in the world and also allowing it to affect every little aspect of your life, more often than not in a very, very negative way. Now, I'm kind of the belief that our brains have not evolved fast enough to process this much stimuli that we're giving it. If you think about it, like 100 years ago, if something happened on the other side of the world, or maybe even happened 100 miles away from you, would you ever have known about it? Were you ever meant to know about it? Because back then, we were just focused on what was in our own vicinity, within the walls of our homes, to our local communities, to our small towns. And maybe if we were part of like a neighborhood within a larger city, that made up the bulk of our focus. And we weren't dwelling so hard as to what was happening on the other side of the world. Whereas in this day and age, it seems like we're just constantly being shown all this craziness all over the place, and it's hard for us to process, and we feel like we don't have a whole lot of control and we can't really deal with any of that. But when it comes to politics, and I won't dive too deep into this topic because I don't really care to talk about it that much, especially since I'm not a politician myself anyway, is that it's all one big circus. It just seems like no matter what side of the political aisle you sit on, they have like these agendas that they're trying to do, and they're trying to sway our mindset and just kind of mess with our lives and hopefully garner votes from us. Where it's like, I just decided to just kind of stay out of the circus because I have to focus on bettering myself and also bettering those within my community and those within my charge, like my loved ones and so on and so forth too. And that's what I encourage all of you men as well, especially if you are in a relationship, or if you have children, or if you have people within your community or your family that are counting on you. Don't let yourself get bogged down with what's happening out there. Focus on the walls of your home first. Try to make that situation as best as you possibly can. And once you have your own house in order, then you are in a better position to kind of start expanding outward to try to make like more of a difference in your community, and just keep expanding outward from there. A lot of people think that they want to try to make the world a better place, but they don't even have their own houses in order. Their house is a mess, their health is a mess, their body's a mess, their relationships are a mess, and yet somehow they think they're in a position to try to make the world better. Stay out of the circus. Focus on your own mental health first. Focus on getting yourself in order first. And then again, expand out to your immediate vicinity. And then once you have that better established, then you can expand a little bit further out from there. There's a saying that personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. That didn't come from me, though I wish it did. That's from Andy Frisella, and I think that is absolutely brilliant. If you want to make a difference in the world, work on yourself first, work on your own well-being, your own mental health first, and then you can start focusing on what's out there a little bit more closely. All right, everyone. So that's all I have for now. Let's just recap these 5 points here really quick before I let you all go. So the first thing, the most important in my opinion, is work on your physical fitness, do hard training, hit the weight room, get out and go for runs, do the combat sports, do regular sports, whatever the case may be, get yourself moving and get yourself active. Next up is eating a clean diet. Remember, think foods that have been on this planet since the dawn of time, that have brought us humanity up to the point that it is now. Single ingredient foods, again, meat, fish, eggs, bananas, apples, rice, potatoes. think single ingredient foods. Next is looking to optimize your testosterone levels. Again, testosterone is the male hormone. If your testosterone levels are high, that's just going to benefit your all-around health, not just your mental health. Fourth point I want to talk about is find yourself a battle team of other like-minded men. Again, you can find those online, but preferably, again, is to find them within your local vicinity. So go to the gym, go to do jiu-jitsu, go do Muay Thai, go do like church, whatever that might be. Go where other men are going to go if they want to better themselves. And the last point that I want to talk about is get yourself out of the circus. Do stay informed, but don't let yourself be consumed by everything that's out there on social media and the 24-hour news cycle, and focus on bettering yourself first, and then start expanding outwards to your immediate vicinity, like your loved ones, and then you can expand a little bit further out from there. All right, everyone, that's all I have for today's episode. I hope you found this episode beneficial. If you did, by all means, feel free to reach out to me on the socials. I am most active on Instagram. My handle is @allaroundadventure. That is just one word with no dashes. And let me know what you think of the episode over there. All right, everyone. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Be sure to check in next Monday when I welcome a brand new episode. As I welcome a brand new guest on an all new episode. So be sure to check back in for that one as well. All right, everyone, have an outstanding week, and I will see you all next time.